My name is Tanya Curry, and this is this week's Acumen Media Report. It's entitled Rest in Peace, aka the biggest story in South Africa in 2023. The death of AKA the government called an untimely passing. It wasn't. It was a hit. Well, that's if you ask me, but I'm just someone who reads the news, so you don't have to. AKA got a bullet straight to the head. Precise. That's not untimely. That's very timely. And that's a well-orchestrated crime. Words matter. It is the biggest story of the week, with over 217,000 mentions in South Africa alone and over 1.4 million engagements. This is now the biggest story of the year. Rest in peace, AKA. Let's scratch the nasty surface of the big stories this week with Acumen Media. And spoiler alert, the AKA story is rough and the rest is just a bunch of dodgy balloons and hot air. The nation woke up to the news of one of its biggest celebrities being gunned down while exiting a club on Florida Road in Durban. AKA, along with his friend Tibbs, had been assassinated. Social media, the great truth seeker, immediately identified that these deaths were not random. This was not an ordinary drive-by shooting. I can't believe I even said those words out loud, but hey, we're in South Africa, so what do you want from me? Balloons? This shooting carried a strong message and took two people's lives. People who kept us wrapped up in rhyme and rhythm and a large dose of reality TV. 6 bullets. One hit the intended mark. One of the others hit Tibbs by mistake. Tibbs wasn't meant to die, according to social media. This was a hit on AKA. Cast your mind back. Do you remember Anele Temba, AKA's girlfriend? She died in Cape Town falling from the Pepper Street Hotel some time back, and there were a great deal of questions surrounding her death. Some even said that AKA threw her off the building after a warped wrangle. Personally, I think she killed herself, and in her mind it was because of AKA, and that was in her dad's mind too. Anele's father, Moses Tembi, a successful businessman, is rumored to have told AKA never to enter Durban again. And here we are, with a carnage on Florida Road, and the Tembi family accusing AKA of killing Anele. Security footage trended on Twitter, clearly showing Don Design, another mate of our hip-hop king, leaving the building slightly earlier than AKA and Tibbs. Many pointed out that his hand had stretched out at some point, saying that he had signaled the hit. I don't know about that. I think that's a bit of a stretch. But those that buy into this theory also say he was blackmailed into setting his friend up and had no choice. We always have a choice. Always. Nota said that there is a killer or a rat amongst AKA's friends.
Because we understand that they forced you to sacrifice Keenan. They forced you to do it, guys. Whatever they blackmailed you guys with, all this blackmail that they were using on you, it's fine. We can accept that you guys were blackmailed into doing that, because we know you wouldn't want to ordinarily do that to your homie. We know you wouldn't do that to your homie.
He also tore Becky Cele to shreds and said not to bother turning up to this crime scene because we would rather South Africa investigates. Well, that's true, isn't it? We did a much better job on Senzo. It's only because of civilians that a documentary got released to ensure we have a court case running 10 years later. And perhaps a glimmer of hope for finding justice for Senzo. But it's unlikely, just like it's unlikely now with the death of AKA. We may never see justice. That's the way it rolls here in SA. Gangsters only deal with gangsters, and frequently those gangsters are the ones that are meant to protect and serve. My hissy fit, officially over. I suppose you want to hear about Sonar 2023, the Sonar debate and the Sonar reply. You didn't watch it, did you? You've worked this out. I did it for you. I sat through 3 days of politicians telling Ramaphosa how useless he was. If it wasn't that, then it was an ANC representative telling how wonderful the government is. For the most part, the Sonar debate centered around the state of disaster regarding our power supply. A little while ago, the DA was shouting from the rooftops for a state of disaster declaration, and then when the president did it, they did a turncoat and started shouting about fraud and corruption and cadre deployment. Look, I'm going to level with you. We need a new set of leaders. Maybe more than that. Hold that thought. And for the first time in ages, I was actually rooting for the DA. Until I heard the Rubicon speech by Steenhuisen, and then I wanted to stick a fork in my eye. Why does this party insist on pointing out the obvious instead of making an impact? They've had years now in Gauteng and are flying dangerously high for a hot air balloon. Majordina, the ANC chief whip, did show John the exit in her fiery pro-Ramaphosa retort. And where were our beloved EFF? Well, they used the opportunity to electioneer. And Dlamini took pop shops at Becky Cele about the alleged assassination plot between the IFP and Floyd Shivambu. Cele, in return, told us that there was a meeting with the EFF where they were asked him to confirm spurious allegations of such a plot. A meeting where Cele spoke completely incoherently, as if he had started sucking helium.
Wednesday, before the sauna, I had a long meeting with the Deputy Secretary of the EFF in my house. A very long meeting with him.
All I could translate between the grunting is that he was telling Julius to get knotted. When the president got on stage to give his response to Sona debate, the EFF decided not to attend. Why? Because 99 red balloons need blowing up, and that's actually hard work. By the way, nothing has happened about them storming on the president in the opening, and in fact, if you ask Julius, you'll be told it was a peaceful placard protest. And the president knows full well that Julius cannot harm him.
On the security forces of South Africa to enter the chambers to intimidate peaceful members of parliament who had their hands up, holding placards to protest against the sole director of Ntaba Nyoni Estate Pty Ltd.
All the air has gone out of this puffed up balloon buffoon. Fikile Mbalula put a meme out of himself as an electricity superhero with the words Minister of Electricity. SA was not amused. We huffed and hissed a drum at razzmatazz like punctured balloons. Even Outer has stood up to interdict the State of Disaster Funding Initiative hosted by a still no-name brand, Minister of Electricity. You see, we all have PTSD from COVID state of disaster under Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. We're still shell-shocked. And if she is involved here, then let's stop it immediately. Ever the optimist and possibly naive, I'd like to think that this might be a genuine attempt to get money that will fund the big coal smoke back to some sense of stability. The pessimist in me says Dorata told us that this corruption and turf warring over Eskom is unfixable. As much as I loathe the man, I suspect he is right. Oi, Cupcake, please don't take our money unless we have an open audit by the public. It wasn't all bad. The Sona debate had a few classics and one that was worth rewinding because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The leader of the ACDP, Kenneth Mashu, told us in no uncertain terms that Ramatras was working with the New World Order to help Satanists take over the world and that only Christians will be saved.
I want to announce today that my family and I will, together with faithful members of the ACDP, never be part of this one world religion that will come with the New World Order, that will be imposed on citizens of the world by agents of the Antichrist. We believe in Jesus Christ alone and will never apologize for it. I thank you.
Does he think there are lizards ruling the world too? What is going on? Moving along to my favorite Sona moment, another politician said that the opposition are just small barking dogs. Chihuahuas, he said they were. I laughed. You would have too if you'd been subjected yourself to hours of people letting off steam and busted balloons. The president's response was to tell Julius he was well protected and to others that they have conveniently ignored the good work done under great duress. He left out key elements, things like 40% of our women report a rape in our country, 1 in every 3 girls will experience sexual assault, 68 people will be murdered in South Africa today, and 150 women will be raped. I can't even get these words out, they disgust me so much. These are convenient truths and hot air that you're feeding us, Mr. Ramaphosa or Mr. President. Right, now that's enough of that. Let me torment you with the Public Protector, Madam Busi Mkhwebane impeachment inquiry, which was a farce as ever I've seen one. Dali didn't turn up for 2 days, and when he did, it was with his chubby Julius. Apparently, Dali hasn't been paid. Well, he has. This is certainly the most expensive item under her belt thus far. Dali and the chair were literally screaming at each other, and Malema was his arrogant and bullying self. There was a repeated reference from Mpofu about blue lies. I thought it was another South Africanism, but it turns out it means repeated lies. I suppose most liars know a blue lie from a white one or any other color you can imagine. I don't know how we got here, but the PP's own subpoenaed witness managed to stop 3 days of work and incur another huge bill of legal fees. It's the Hindenburg in slow motion. Then Nhlanhla Lux left Operation Tudula, and the Nhlanhla Lux Foundation was born. I'm glad that he left that xenophobic movement, and in a podcast I listened to this young orator. He was gripping, a bit like Julius in the old days, but this time without prejudice. He said that the black child must stand next to the white child with an equal opportunity, an opportunity to fix this country. All backgrounds, all creeds, and we must forget about politics and just work from the ground up. I like that. I like that a lot. And he also said that South Africa needs a dictator. So you hear what you want to hear, right? The truth is, this is not working. Elections are around the corner, offering nothing but a fragmented government. What are we going to do, South Africa? Blow up balloons or do what we do best? In other news, we had another state of disaster declared as floods swept across the country, and Steve Hofmeyr was booted off a boat because he got cancelled. A move he didn't take kindly to, and said, "I will never climb on one of their boats again. I don't like getting seasick. You can bath in your own garden. I just work here. Don't shoot the balloons. This is not a fun fair." Kwatema protests saw locals storm Dube Ngcube's premier house. Yep, that's more like it. Instead of burning buses and schools, just remove those politicians that are not working. Ayob Mungali was shot in Eldorado Park. He was an activist fighting drug laws. Stelli's banned Afrikaans, and a horrific bus and cash-in-transit vehicle crash left at least 20 dead. Randall Williams resigned after a scathing report from the Auditor General, so now we have no mayor in Tshwane either. I ask again, with tears in my navy blue eyes, do we need mayors? And it was Valentine's Day. I hope you spent it under the stars as one should, and maybe you even had balloons. Across the water, the death toll in Turkey added to the horror that fills our screens. The numbers alone are astonishing. Even more astonishing is the world's response. Britain gave Ukraine $2.7 billion for arms and sent $6 million for the hundreds of thousands displaced and the tens of thousands dead in Turkey. Mass graves covered our timelines, and a baby was born with its umbilical cord still attached to its dead mother. Stories of incredible suffering, stories of great courage, and the tenacity of the human spirit rising from the ashes. We've seen a ton of balloons across this report and a great deal of talk of hot air. Well, you've reached the summit. The US says that these balloons floating around and getting shot down are gathering intelligence on the US and Taiwan. They also said that the USA is ready to ensure Taiwan doesn't become another Ukraine. They added that cyber attacks are on their way. So balloons are the least of our problems. I'm confused. How does a balloon replace a hacker? Are we buying this twaddle? Let me cheer you up by telling you that the video this week is gonna pop. Nene's 99 balloons was a prophecy. Who would have thought? Oh wait, a large chunk of the sun broke off this week, but you know, whatever. May I take the weekend off, please? This has been a dark and deflating report. I'm Tonya Curry, and thank you for scratching the surface with Acumen Media.